welcome to another edition, a finals edition of the Don't Argue, all thanks to our great sponsor, Palmerbet. And don't we love the Palmerbet boys, but don't we love Kirk Gidley and the Newcastle Knights. Kids, how has your week been, mate? Because that was one for the ages, mate, to be honest. A cracking game on Sunday night, big fella. And your Knights get over the line against the Warriors, the Raiders, mate, in what was an absolute epic NRL finals match, wasn't it?
Oh, Matty, I think it was, mate. There was two things. I think it's one of the best ever finals that I've watched in a long, long time. And I think it was in the top few performances and games at McDonald Jones Stadium, at Marathon Stadium, at
Unreal.
International Sports Centre, whatever it was, how far we want to go back. One of the best ever Knights games.
Kids, I would have loved to have fed him. The Palmerbet boys should have mic'd you up for the game, I reckon.
Yeah.
It ebbed and flowed, didn't it, the game? You know, you had your highs, you had your lows. There would have been moments where you're thinking, hang on, we're gone here. It had it all, didn't it?
Oh, mate, it was an absolute roller coaster ride, Matty. And look, the atmosphere, let me just try and talk you through that to start with. Lineups, hundreds of metres long to get into the stadium early to get their seats on the hill. And, mate, cracking Sunday afternoon and a huge crowd, obviously sold out, so vocal, so loud. So an amazing atmosphere. But, geez, the Raiders done well. They took it to the Knights during that first half. So it was a tough battle and it seesawed both ways. Even the last try just before full time to Starling was a bit deflating, but yeah, an amazing performance for the Knights to claw back and get that one done and push through the next round of the semis.
What do you reckon the crowd's worth to you, kids? McDonald Jones Stadium. Like, how many points is it worth every week?
Well, mate, it makes a difference. It significantly makes a difference. Being a player, the Newcastle chant was absolutely pumping right from before the game, before the ball was kicked, right throughout the game. So it has an influence. There's no doubt about that to the players, that's for sure. And probably to the opposition as well. It makes it tough. So it was an amazing atmosphere. Even I think there was a moment after the game where Freddie was interviewing Kalyn Ponga and the crowd just erupted when they started to talk about the crowd because they played the interview over the speakers.
Hey,
Quite amazing.
Just talking about that man, one of the stars of the show, Kalyn Ponga, he's an absolute jet, isn't he?
Well, mate, he's been a big part of the last 10 weeks turnaround. There's no doubt about that. I mean, everyone's played their part, from a bloke who, like Phoenix Crosland, who moved into hooker because Jaden Brayley was ruled out for the year. So he's played a top part and it's an integral part of the team going well. Jackson Hastings, Tyson Gamble, like Jackson Hastings going off before half time could have changed the game. He stood up and Kurt Mann come on and played his role as a utility in the half. And Kalyn just stepped up again and shifted to that right side and fixed up 2 tries. I think they scored 3 tries within 15 minutes. The Knights did to get themselves back in front.
Magnificent to watch, mate. They are they've been one of the stories of the year for mine. I love them. The other story for the year, I reckon it's kind of nearly at the crescendo for mine. I reckon they've been brilliant all year for mine. The Broncos defeating the Storm. They broke that 14-game losing streak, and they did it in huge style, mate. 26-zip. It was just a really dominant performance, but that is what the Broncos have done all year, I reckon. They have just been sensational. The brand of rugby that they play is magnificent. It's exciting to watch, and they deserve their place in that preliminary final. And whoever they play, seriously, they're going to have their work cut out because they are a very, very good outfit, aren't they?
Oh, Matty, there was so much commentary, wasn't there, about the hoodoo, the Melbourne Storm's previous statistics up at Suncorp Stadium, and whether the Broncos would crumble under that in the first round of the semis. Well, they certainly drew a line in the sand and proved plenty of people wrong that those previous stats. And I guess the enjoyment that the Melbourne Storm had at Suncorp Stadium was quickly squashed, mate, to kick the game off. I thought they took it to them really early. It was it was an aggressive start of the game defensively. I thought their line speed was outstanding. And, mate, it was a comprehensive win in the end, really. Probably sends a message to the rest of the comp. And, we've spoken about the speed of their team and the youth of their outside backs. Well, their forwards are bloody tough as well. And, through to that week off this week and then playing for a grand final the following week. So I can't remember. What was the final year? Was it when they got beat by the Cowboys, grand final? That would have been the last time Broncos in the grand final, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Extra time, wasn't it?
But kids, even the start of the year with the turmoil off the field and, you know, like it was kind
Mm.
of like everyone was kind of saying, oh, they're a basket case and all that kind of stuff. Like, so to turn it around, you know, and have the season they've had. I just want to mention, like, on the flip side, the real sad thing last Friday night was obviously Ryan Pappenhausen and that compound fracture. You know, he's had an absolute shocking time, injuries to
Mm.
come back and do what he's done, you know, breaking that kneecap, and that was an horrific injury in itself. But then to have another one in the space of you know, six to 12 months is just really bad luck, isn't it, for Melbourne
Mate, it,
fans and for Pappy?
it it was disheartening, mate. It was sad. I mean, I'll be dead set honest. I almost started. I had a tear in my eye when
Yeah,
the the reaction. I think that was the most confronting part when you
yeah,
see a player react like that to a horrific injury. That's always alarm bells. And man, it's extremely painful. And then obviously what he's been through over the past, you know, what was it, 400 plus days since he played. To get back, the rehab, mate, is excruciating. When you're by yourself, it's a lonely place to be. Spend a lot of time with your physios and your one of your performance teams. So, and you just feel disengaged and down. Like it's a depressing state to be in when you're injured. So
in your own thoughts, kids, aren't you? You know, like you kind of you're playing with yourself, so to speak, and for
yep.
someone like yourself to hear, you know, like because you understand, kids, what it takes to come back and play at the top level off the back of a serious injury and stuff, you know, and to hear you say that, you know, you nearly brought a tear to your eye.
I
That's
did.
pretty moving, mate, isn't it?
Mate, it wasn't, Matt. I wasn't the only one. I spoke to my brother. My brother was at the game on Sunday, which is great. I did a quick Q&A with him, and we had a beer after that in the lead up to the footy. And he said the same thing. He said, mate, when I seen him on the Medicab, and he you know he had the whistle in, and
Yeah,
he reckons there was a tear coming out of his face. He said it, you know, broke his heart. So I think, you know, when you've been there and you've been through tough injuries and long rehab, it doesn't matter who you play for. There's an understanding of there's a tough road ahead, and he's got a tough one again, unfortunately. But man, I full confidence that he'll be back again. Yeah, most players unfortunately have a year or two like this back to back. It's rare, like Cameron Smith, who didn't have a lot of major injuries, but the majority of players will go through tough periods, and unfortunately, some of them are back to back. But he'll be back.
yeah, I hope so, because he's an absolute superstar, great fellow on and off the field as well, which is sensational. Hey, Panthers, they were way too good for the Warriors, mate. Big win, 32-6. They stamped their authority. No Luai. They're just getting the job done, and they're doing it in a real professional manner, aren't they? And you know, to be honest, kids, the Panthers and the Broncos, they look like the two teams. They're going to be sitting back, having a week off this week, gearing up for a prelim final. Whoever they play, they're going to be, you know, they're going to have their work cut out.
For sure, they'll have their work cut out. I mean, if there's another team outside of those two that make the grand final, it's going to be a huge upset in that next round. But yeah, a convincing win. It was always going to be a tough one at Penrith Park. And, you know, Jack Cogger steps in with Luai being out. He did that when Nathan Cleary was out during the middle part of the year and filled in a great position and done really well. And they're just so clinical in all their attack, and they get the best defensive record in the competition by far. They proved it again on the weekend. I mean, I thought it was going to be a tough effort when who got ruled out later? Sean Johnson got ruled out like within, what was it, 48 hours in the lead up the game. I thought that was probably a strategic move for them to rest him in preparation for this week, which they knew they had up their sleeve. So it's going to be a tough one for the Knights over at Mount Smart.
Absolutely. And Roosters and the Sharks, this was a ripping encounter, 13-12 at the end. So that is 6 on the trot for the Roosters. So they've really hit form at the right time of the season. That game had it all too, because you kind of thought the Sharks had done enough. A bit of sin bin for Tedesco, you know, like it just had everything, didn't it? You know, like you thought, there's no way they can come back here and they can get across the line, but they got a bit of a will to win at the moment, and they're going to go and take on the Melbourne Storm Friday night. There's going to be a bit of belief there, I reckon, kids.
Well, there's belief, mate. Anytime you're winning back-to-back games, they're 6 on the bounce now, which is a great effort. I did tip them, mate, in that game as a little upset for the weekend, and I just thought, mate, the effort and desire by like Tedesco, the charge down at the end, like an amazing effort from your skipper.
Yeah,
probably not what you see, the fullback charging down field goals, but he knew what he had to do at that stage of the game to protect the team and for what that field goal was setting up for. And then Luke Keary, I think, was the next one who raced through and charged the next one down. So, yeah, a huge effort by those two guys on those two plays. Even I think it was Tyson Gamble for the Knights charged one down as well. Very similar. So they're the little opportunities and the effort, that make the difference, mate. They get you through to the next round or get you through to the next set even.
Hey, mate, let's have a look at the premiership odds, all thanks to Palmerbet. So current odds, previous odds, Panthers were $2.40 now. They're into $2.10. Broncos, $3 into $2.60. Storm, $6.50. Big drifters out to $11. Warriors, $12. Drifting as well out to 15. Knights, 17. Drifted, believe it or not, kids, out to $19, and the Roosters from 23 to 21. I must admit, I thought the Knights might have come in a little bit there, but yeah, the two at the top, Panthers and the Broncos, they're the ones that everybody wants to be on, kids.
Yeah, rightly so, mate. They've been the two best, the most consistent teams when we got to the end of the regular season, and I guess maybe two convincing wins on the weekend puts them in a position that they're both favourites for the grand final. So, yeah, look, I think there's some tough games this weekend. Obviously, I think the Roosters are missing a couple after the weekend. The Knights are missing a couple after the weekend, and mate, that's why, coming top four and getting through to having that week off, and you're playing in the prelim to go into the GF. That's the difference. It might just give you that week to get players back after a knock to the body. So if the Knights are missing a couple, the Roosters are missing a couple. I'm not sure how Melbourne's looking for this week, but it gets harder, mate, because the games get more intense, and inevitably that's tough on the body.
Mate, let's turn our attention to a couple of cracking finals. There's no next week. It's as simple as that, kids. And it's Friday night. Storm taking on the Roosters, $7.50 at AAMI Park. Head-to-head, the Storm $1.29. Roosters at $3.60. Some value for the Chooks supporters there. Storm at the line, minus $11.5, $1.90. Roosters plus $11.5, $1.90. Key stats, all thanks to Palmerbet. Pappenhausen, of course, out, as we just mentioned. Xavier Coates also in doubt after picking up an injury for last week for the Storm. For the Roosters, Billy Smith-Jaw, Joseph Suaalii, concussion, both out, while centre Joey Manu was racing the clock to overcome a hamstring injury. Storm won both their clashes this year in round 20, 30 to 16. In round 6, 28-8. Storm have won 7 of their last 8 games against the Roosters. The Roosters have won their last 6 straight games, and the Storm have won their last 8 straight games at AAMI Park. It's a fortress down here in Victoria, Gids. Who are you with? And what do you reckon? Is it going to be tight? Is it going to be a blowout? What's your thoughts?
Oh, I'm worried about some of the Roosters guys they got out. Obviously, Hargrave's still out. I mean, they won without him on the weekend, but Joey Manu, late racing the clock with a hamstring. I think he's going to be a long shot. I think he limped off the week before with a calf injury as well. Billy Smith, I've liked him. Big, rangy centre. I think he's been impressive. And Joseph Suaalii out with concussion. So, yeah, mate, it makes it harder. There's no doubt about that. Melbourne missing Pappenhausen, who was my sort of one of my X factors when I done the Palmerbet filming there the other week, and Xavier Coates. Well, he's a huge benefit. Yardage carries, the way he finishes sets in the air. So they both picked up their injuries, mate. So, but I think it will be Storm, mate, who get this one done. I don't know. I just feel like the Storm are going to get it done convincingly this one. I think they'll be filthy. Craig Bellamy, he's big on defence, mate. He knows that to get to the grand final, to win a premiership, you've got to defend strong, and he'll be filthy on, what was it, 26-0 on the weekend. So I actually think it could be a convincing run of the Storm.
He was pretty animated, wasn't he, in the coaches?
Oh,
there's some great stuff.
No, it was the first time I've seen him do like the Premier League players where he covered his mouth, so he couldn't sort of lip read for most of it. But it was a fair blow up and probably warranted. So I think he'll have him primate this week, and I think as I say, I don't know. I've just got a feeling. I think it's a 13+ job.
Yeah, righto. Anytime try scorers, mate. You like them, Gids?
Mate, haven't been early for the anytime try scorer market to be up at this stage, but I think if Melbourne's to have a big one, I think Munster, that unpredictable carries that he has, where he skips across field, palming. I think he's an anytime try scorer. If they're to go well, he's got to be amongst it.
Righto, mate. Let's turn our attention then to Saturday afternoon, 4:05. Warriors taking on the Knights at Go Media Stadium. I'm tipping. Are you jumping on the plane, Gids? Are you heading over for this one, mate?
Mate, my passport's running out. I haven't
Well, you're
renewed my passport at the moment.
no, mate. That is a rookie mistake.
I know.
What is
So,
going on?
man, I've been traveling in-house Australia wide recently, so which has been good, but I haven't had a need to update the passport. Hugh, I had the great Mark Hughes called me early in the week, said, mate, what do you reckon? A little hit and run.
Oh,
I said,
mate.
mate, that's some bad news. But you know what, mate? I will jump in the car and drive to Brisbane, mate, if they get through to the following week.
Hey, so let's have a look at the market. So the Warriors head to head, they're the faves, $1.53. The Knights are at $2.50, Gids. There's some juicy value there at the line. The Warriors minus 5.5 at $1.90. The Knights plus 5.5 at $1.90. Key stats, all thanks to Palmerbet. For the Warriors, all eyes will be on Sean Johnson to see if he plays this week after missing last week's game. Their big loss to Penrith. Well, for the Knights, Jackson Hastings will miss with an ankle injury. Adam Clune will fill his spot. The team split their games this year, with the Warriors winning their round one clash 20-12 in New Zealand. The Knights won their round six clash 34-24 in Newcastle. Knights have won only 8 of their 22 matches at Go Media Stadium, so that's an interesting stat. And the Knights have won 10 straight, while the Warriors have lost their last 2 games. Gids, tell us why your Newcastle Knights are going to win this weekend and progress to a prelim final.
Well, Matty, I think you've just mentioned there that what the Warriors have lost their last 2 games. I just think momentum, belief, and confidence is a huge influence on any team at this stage of the year. Certainly, I read a stat the other day that the Knights were sitting in 14th after round 17 this year. So that's how quickly they've turned it around. And as I say, there's a genuine belief in that team. And after what they've experienced at McDonald Jones Stadium on Sunday, there'll be fans lined up at the Centre of Excellence waving the team off to Sydney. I'm telling you, there'll be fans there watching the training sessions.
You'll be
and
there,
I've seen it and experienced it previously. I might have been there just with a little sign up myself on the way up the F3 freeway. But look, I think there's a genuine belief. I know Adam Clune will step into that halves position. He's a genuine half. He's filled in already this year and done the job at the back end of the year when Jackson Hastings was out. Sean Johnson is also a huge influence on the Warriors team and what they do. He's a big danger for the Knights defensively. It'd be interesting to see how sharp he is, if he's had some calf tightness or fatigue, because that plays a part. Any soft tissue injury, mate, he plays a little bit on the mind and the body. But there's no doubt the influence of the New Zealand Warriors fans will again have a huge
on their home
part.
They're hard to beat over there, aren't they, Gids?
Well, mate, look, what did you say? The Knights have won 8 in their 22 matches at Go Media Stadium. It was a daunting experience going to the Mount Smart, as I always remember it, to play the New Zealand Warriors. It was either we won by 40 or we got beat by 40. Yeah. There wasn't a lot in between. And, when we got up for those games and kept the ball in play and ran them around to fatigue them, that was a different story back then. Most of the forwards can play, 60, 70, 80 minutes these days. So it's a different tactic. But, I know the Knights will certainly be up for it, but it's going to be, I think this is going to be the match of the round, and it's going to be a tough one for both teams. It'll be interesting to see
who
can get up for it.
Where do you go watch it, mate?
I'll be having a little gathering, mate, of some old boys in my little bottom bar there where I normally film from, mate. I'm at beautiful Sawtell, mate, on the mid-north coast, just south of Coffs Harbour today. So streaming live, mate, from Sawtell. But I'll be having a little gathering my regular Palmerbet bar that you normally see in the background.
Love it, mate. Absolutely love it. You're going to be up and about. You have been, and you deserve to be too. Story of the season for mine. Right, Giz, let's have a look last week, mate. 4 out of 4. The last 5 or 6 weeks, if you have not been following Kirk Gidley, you may as well put the cue in the rack, because, Gids, you are smoking at the moment, big fella.
Yeah, mate, it's been a good run. Just been studying the stats a little more, mate. And the Palmerbet app's been a huge influence on how I've been structuring my tips and my best bets, Matt. I tell you, I had a great experience, Matty. On the Saturday, I went over to McDonald Jones Stadium. They had an NRL double header, and it was a great time. Sunny day. I sat on the hill. I had a beer. I had a pie with my missus and my kids, and it took me back to the days where I was a kid, mate. I loved it. I got a real kick out of that. Knights girls knocked over the Roosters, topped the table clash, and I had a little multi, mate, in that one just personally, and
I did see
got that one up too.
Mate. I did see the tickets. So it's official. You are fair dinkum on fire, mate. I reckon Palmerbet might actually end up giving you the lemon and sauce.
Give me the arse.
Yeah, because you're just winning for the punters, mate. They don't want that.
Nah.
Hey, right, I see. So you're 4 from 4, but the pick 9 that we spoke about last week, which was picking the teams as they go through the final series, you're still alive.
Still alive, but I think I've gone against, mate, what I tipped there last week though, because I've just tipped the Storm, and it looks like I've got Broncos, Panthers, Roosters, Knights,
mate.
For this, Roosters, Knights for this round, but
you got a foot in both camps, mate. There's nothing wrong.
I've got a foot in both camps.
It's hard. So what are we doing? What are we doing this week, mate? What's your bets?
Mate, well, my bets are I've got after a few injuries from last weekend's game for the Roosters, I'm going to go, and Melbourne being touched up defensively or attack-wise, I think there'll be a huge response. So I'm going to go Storm in that game, and I'm going to go my Knights away in New Zealand to get through to the qualifier.
Beautiful, mate. Absolutely love it. And then the Gids get on, which everybody will be waiting.
Gids get on,
breath, mate. What do you got for us, big fella?
That's it, mate. Well, I'm going to go with. I'm going to stick with my Knights boys.
Yep.
Away at what I call Mount Smart. Knights 1-12. I think it's going to be a tough one if the Knights are to get up. So Knights 1-12. Anytime try scorers. I love the way Dane Gagai plays. He's a real competitor on every play. He actually got disallowed one last week, which would have won him the game. So Gags, and off the bench, Kurt Mann. I think he can have an impact off the bench, Kurt Mann. So Knights 1-12, Gags and Kurt Mann. You'll get some value there. And I've put it on the Palmerbet boys. They'll just display it, mate, right here. Yeah. The odds.
I love it, mate. Absolutely magnificent.
Yep.
And I reckon there's going to be a bit of value there too, because Knights outsiders, they're going to be about $3 to win 1-12, I reckon. Yep. Anytime try.
There'll be a bit of value with Gags playing in the centres, and there'll be some real value with Kurt Mann coming off the bench if he's to pick up at any time try.
And who are we to argue with the bloke that's got the Midas touch at the moment in Kurt Gidley? Seriously, we are not arguing, just following. That's what you got to do. Download that Palmerbet app, get involved. You'll see Gids' best bets on there. It's a really simple app to navigate through. And as we always say, always think about what you're gambling with and gamble in a responsible manner. That is the key message. Hey, Gids, what an exciting weekend again for the Newcastle Knights in particular. And also Friday night's game. It is going to be a ripper as well, because the Roosters are up and about. Don't worry about that. And they'll be looking to break that hoodoo against the Melbourne Storm. The Storm will be wanting to bounce back. Warriors want to bounce back. It's got it all. Week 2 of the NRL finals, big fella.
100%, mate. I mean, it's getting a bit sad though, mate. I mean, what am I going to do Sunday?
I know.
I'll be a bit lost.
I know, mate.
I like to saddle up just with a cold one after, being out in the yard or being out with the kids and watching a bit of footy on a Sunday afternoon. I mean,
and your Knights feature heavily on Sunday Arvo games, don't they? Yeah,
they have, mate. So I might just saddle up and watch some highlights of the year.
Love it, big fella.
Yep, it's getting to the pointy end, mate, so it's pretty exciting.
Mate, we are getting to the pointy end, and the two teams that are sitting there waiting are the Penrith Panthers and the Brisbane Broncos. We'll find out who they take on this weekend. Gids, good luck, buddy, and look forward to catching up next week.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good weekend, everyone.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.